negative comments are bad.
You heard it here first.
We know anecdotally that Instagram is not good for women's mental health because we're constantly comparing ourselves to like the highlight reel that we're seeing online. And I feel like people are only starting to follow people with different bodies, but that's still kind of like a new idea. And it's also harder to find those accounts.
Yeah, well, the algorithm doesn't favor them.
Exactly. So I heard on Up First recently about this report that Facebook shared in its message board. And it was like Business Insider or something that found out about this report and recently wrote an article about it. But the message was from March 2020. And in the internal Facebook message board, they shared stats about how Instagram actually does affect teen girls. Facebook in the past, when it was interrogated in like court or outside court, whatever the fuck, they're always being interrogated. They've said that the damage that social media platforms does to teens and people in general is across the board on social media. It's not just Facebook or Instagram. But actually, they know that Instagram affects especially or primarily teen girls' mental health. It makes them more anxious, more depressed. A small minority have even said that it's led them to suicidal ideation or just suicide in general. And the stat I want to focus on. The stat I want to focus on is that 32% of teens felt worse about their body after logging off Instagram, and adding that comparisons on Instagram can change how young women view and describe themselves. So we've talked in the past about the positive influence that following people with different bodies can give you by just like filling what you're seeing most of the day. Like, I don't know how much you guys spend on Instagram, but I spend a lot of time on it. Filling your feed with different bodies is better than what you're getting from like the general media, and shows you that like your body, if it's not the standard American ideal, is still beautiful because you're seeing some other body. And for me personally, since I followed a lot of body positive or body neutral influencers, I feel so much better about myself. And I'm like, why can't I love my body the same way that they do when, they might be even, their size might be larger than mine, but I'm still so fucking attracted to them. I'm like, you're fucking hot. And part of it is that they're so confident in their body, which is hard to do. Even if they don't actually feel that way on the other side of it, they're still posting it out there. And I think that's a heroic thing because it's really hard to do that right now.
Yeah. Especially, clearly as we see, we live in a society that uplifts a certain beauty standard. We know this in terms of, algorithms, how you're presented on social media, how much your content is put in front of people who don't follow you. We also know this, some dating apps, like Tinder, I know rank you on a scale of, attractiveness and give you better matches depending on what you look like. So we do really live in a world that benefits quote unquote traditionally hot people. Yeah. And for us, what that means realistically is a thin white woman.
Yeah. Yeah. And also we know that America is fat. America has a population of obese people predominantly, and that's because we don't care about everyone in our country. So the fact that only a minority of people are benefit from this made up beauty ideal is just fucked up because that's not what America actually looks like. So this is leading into a new study that was recently published in September, where lead author Daniel Talbot and his team wanted to dive into people's reactions to body positive content while also taking into account the influence of the comment section. And this was ultimately to examine the question Talbot is asking that Talbot asks, can representation of diverse bodies improve the way people feel about their own bodies and shift normative body ideals towards a more realistic body type? Is it just anecdotally that Rachel and I say, like, fill your feed with different bodies and that will help you feel better about your own and confident in your skin? Or is that a farce? The study shows that it is not a farce. It is real. So overall, women were more likely to post a negative comment, aka fat shame, a social media image of a plus size woman if it already had negative comments. Conversely, women were also more likely to leave a positive comment if they saw positive comments. So they were very influenced by what other people what people were already saying.
Yeah.
Because they're sheep. Only 4% of people who saw positive comments left a negative comment. Fuck them. And 40% of women who saw a negative comment left a negative comment. So the negative comments are bad.
You heard it here first.
It influences people to be worse, you know?
Yeah. People are less likely to say shitty things if there are already positive comments being made.
Yeah.
But if they feel that they've been given permission to be mean,
exactly,
then they will do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's the permission to be mean, or it's like resenting, you know, maybe they were heavier when they were younger and now we're like, oh no, there's so many different reasons why a woman would shame another woman. And I think that usually trickles down from just
none
the
of them are
patriarchy.
valid.
None of them are valid, and it just perpetuates the idea that not all bodies are beautiful, and also
yeah, I would bet it's a lot of people being like, well, I was told that this wasn't okay, or I was forced to be thin because I was told that being fat isn't okay, so now I'm angry at people who are allowing themselves to be this way.
Exactly.
Because we view it as a moral bad, as opposed to, you know, just seeing it as a body that doesn't need to have a moral placement on it.
In more positive findings across all conditions, again, I didn't talk about the methodology just because it's a little boring, but in all conditions of the study, the majority of participants did leave positive comments. And that shows evidence that there is an overall positive reaction to plus size models or influencers, people. And the images had a positive effect on women's mental health. And I know this to be true for myself. The limitations of this study were that the findings could have been distorted by social desirability bias, in which the people who are in the study know that they're in a study and they're just very aware that they're being
judged.
Yeah, or their results are being tracked, so they want to be on their best behavior and not like look bad. But I think even though this exposes like some toxic behaviors that women have, which like, oh, good, we should expose all of that.
Yeah.
It also shows that the more body positive and neutral content that we have out there, the better it is for women's self-esteem overall. Right. And it kind of seems like the only way to rectify or to combat the negative effects of Instagram on teen girls is to fill it with realistic bodies.
Yeah.